Hey y'all, welcome back to Spirit of the Outdoors, another episode of Just in Time. I got a scripture I want to read. Now I believe I have read these scriptures on here before. Probably not really talked about them the way I'm going to talk about them today. They deal with spiritual warfare. I'm not going to really dive off deep into spiritual warfare. Just going to talk about real life today. In Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12, it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness in this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." It says, "Wherefore take on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand." And it goes through verse 13, 14, all the way down to verse 18. Talks about praying and the helmet of salvation and the shield of faith and feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, and standing having loins girt about with truth, and the breastplate of righteousness. And it describes the whole armor of God. I'm not going to really try to explain all that today. The thing that I want to key in, it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood." For a long time, men have fought, strived with one another. We know the first men, Cain and Abel, brothers, couldn't get along, jealous of one another. And it's not because one man is better than another, or one man is so bad that he needs to be got rid of. It's because evil gets a hold of a man. A man begins to think on things, and seeds of evil get planted in his heart. The devil begins to talk to a man and tell him, this is what's going on. They doing you wrong. They mistreating you. They doing, and you begin to listen to those voices in your head. Be careful, number one, what voices you listen to. Because in this world, there's two forces, light and dark, good and evil, God and Satan. Angels are always fighting against evil spirits. They're fighting over you. They're fighting over your family. They're fighting over your soul. And evil has nothing greater of a desire than just to destroy you. It don't want to see you bleed. It's jealous of you. It's jealous of the opportunity that you have. And all it wants is for you to be destroyed. Evil will promise you things, promise you good. If you'll cheat a little bit, you'll have more money. If you don't worry about your wife. Just have that extra girlfriend. All this, so nobody will ever know. Just have a little fun. It's just fun. You're just enjoying life, and you got to take what's yours. And all these voices, and every one of them have to do with self-gratification, exploiting self, about me. Look at me. And y'all, in the world that we live in, you have to be careful. It's easy to get caught up in pleasing me more than I'm pleasing God. Paul said one time that it is a pleasure to sacrifice for you, Lord. To be persecuted for your name's sake, Lord, is jewels in my crown. It is a pleasure. It pleases me to know that I am making sacrifice for you, Lord, that I'm being persecuted for your name. And it's hard to look at it that way. But life is very short compared to eternity is very long. And those scriptures that say we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against evil, basically. Evil spirits, spiritual wickedness. When you understand that, it makes living life a lot easier. For example, here recently, I had a man that made the statement, not to me, but it got back to me, obviously. It upset me. But he said, I don't put a whole lot of stock in what he's got to say. I don't have no confidence in him. In other words, he didn't think, maybe I had the walk of God that I portray I have. The flesh side of me, my carnality, my flesh wanted to grab him up in the shirt collar and say, you look here, I am what I say I am. But I didn't do that. I thought about it long and hard. Lost a little sleep over it. It bothered me because I'm human. I like me as much as you like you. But I began to think about it. You know what? His opinion don't determine who I am. His opinion of me has no effect on what I do, who I am, or my reputation. Because if I am what I say I am, he can't tarnish my reputation. If you've got to correct a man about what he says about you, worried about your reputation, that's because you are already worried about your reputation a little too much. And maybe you really ain't who you say you are or proclaim to be. Number one, I don't trust in me. I trust in God. I don't worry about my abilities. Now, I do some things that is my abilities. Making these knives is my abilities. But that's just menial stuff. What's real is my relationship with God. These messages, these teachings, understanding this word, sharing the gospel with people. And what I have learned and what I tell you is not my own. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you things that I just was sitting in my shed having a cup of tea and dreamed up all of a sudden and go, aha, let's tell everybody that and see how they take it. No. I studied this book. I read it. I have read it from cover to cover a couple of times. I'm currently going back through it again. And I'm sharing with you what I have learned from this. I read things that I don't understand. If it bothers me that I don't understand it, I begin to pray about it. And I reread it. If I still don't understand it, I pray about it. And I reread it. Usually God begins to deal with my heart on this subject. What I tell you, I learned from this book. God enlightens me. God shares things with me, helps my understanding. I pray and ask God to give me wisdom. So when a man says, I don't have no stock in what he's got to say, if I know I'm reading this word and I'm telling you what I got out of this book, he don't really have a problem with me. He's got a problem with God, and that ain't my problem. That ain't for me to worry about. That's between him and God. It's not for me to correct. When he starts to say, my personal life ain't what it ought to be, or it ain't what, that's merely his opinion. The next thing is we're all human. We all are going to make mistakes. And I've also got to understand that man's going to make mistakes too. And I chalk this up as one of them. And I forgive that man. Because I know that my battle is not with him. That the enemy just used him to take a shot at me. And I'm sharing this with you, not just to feel sorry for me, because I'm fine. Don't bother me. But it bothers some of you. Some of you have had some things said about you, done to you. And you feel like, I got to get back at them. I got to let them know I'm as much a man as they are. See, I made that mistake about a little over a year ago. I corrected a man. I stood and looked him in the eye and told him I was as much a man as he was. Not in those exact words, But I mean, that's what the whole gist of it was. I wanted him to know that I was as capable of having my way as he was his. And I was not wrong. I did not say anything wrong. I was not ugly. I did not cuss. I did not raise my voice. We did not have back and forth words and have a screaming match. It was just, I just stated my opinion very firmly. But God dealt with me on that. I lost a lot of sleep in a year's time over that. I finally made an arrangement to be able to get that man to finally talk to me and apologize to him for something I probably really wasn't totally wrong for. But I was wrong in spirit, clearly. God dealt with my heart about it. I felt bad about it. And when this come up, it was very easy for me to just dismiss it and go, we're going to let that go. Not even going to worry about it. Why was it so easy? Because I knew that it was a spiritual battle. See, in your life, when you realize the things that are going on are manifestations of spiritual warfare, opportunities for you to be tested, opportunities for God sometimes, as he did Job, just to see what is in you, just to see what you're made of. If you hold together well, if you perform well under that pressure, come through the fire, as the Bible says, tried as gold, God bless you after it's over with. God don't never test somebody and not bless them if they come through and be what he thinks they should be. Because God can't use you for anything great if he can't trust you. You've got to be able to push self to the side and let God work. We've got too many people in this day and age that's worried about, well, what I think. They read this Bible and go, well, I don't know if I believe it like that. Well, you know, God really didn't ask you what you believed. He really wrote down and told you what to believe. And if you don't like it, that's on you. It's like the infilling of the Holy Ghost. I seen a book in a thrift store yesterday that was of the topic of being Pentecostal without having to speak in tongues. And I mean, that's kind of like being a millionaire without having to spend any money. Part of the perk of being a millionaire is getting to spend a little money. You know, buy something I want. Well, just to be able to call me a millionaire and have $1 million sitting in a bank that I can't touch really ain't worth a whole lot, is it? Why would anybody want to be Pentecostal and not be able to speak in tongues? It's not like you got to cut your tongue out to do it. It's not like it's a curse. It's not like something bad's going to happen to you. So why is this? Why is that a problem? I mean, if you don't want to do it, you don't really, I don't guess, have to. God don't make you do anything. But I'm looking at it as, why would that be a problem for some? I mean, that's like saying, you know, I want to be a believer, but I don't want to have the gift of healing. I don't want to have to be able to heal nobody. Why? Why would you not want to be able to heal somebody? Because there's some people right now that I know that if I really could of my own power just say, be healed, I'd be on my way 100 miles an hour to get to them right now and say, get up, you healed. It's over. You don't have to fight this no more. You don't have to struggle with this problem no more. It's took care of. No more cancer for you. No more problem for you. And I worry about people that get so full of their self that they really can't let God be God. You see, the beauty of all of this is this whole world is I get to enjoy it. You look behind me at all of this creation, the beautiful trees, everything. I enjoy it. The birds chirping, fish jumping in the water, the stuff going, the animals around, the chickens being born, the garden growing, the life. The sun is shining. It's beautiful. He created a world that I could enjoy. But it's not for me to get so attached to and so attached to me that I can't follow him, that I can't let him work, that I'm not willing to make sacrifices to allow God to be God. So when you're fighting things and when you're struggling with things and there's situations in your life, some people, I watch them get so frustrated and so bent out of shape trying to fix things themselves when you really need to just let God have it. Take your hands off of it and pray. Sometimes God presents things to you to put you in a position to realize that you can't fix everything. And that you realize you need him. I was talking to my pastor about a year or so ago. Actually, a couple of years ago now. And I told him, I said, we're going to have revival. I said, but we're not going to have revival until we have hard times. He looked at me and said, you think so? I said, people don't turn to God until they need God. And right now, nobody needs God. You see, we had great revival in America after the Great Depression because people realized I don't have the money to fix my issues anymore. I need God to get me a job, to feed my family, to get me to the doctor. If somebody gets sick, I don't have no money. I got to have God. It was easy for my grandpa to stand out in the yard and pray because when he planted a crop and he was living off of that cotton plantation, that cotton crop that him and just his kids were picking and growing, there was about 5 young'uns, and they had to work it. It was just them. And when he put them seeds in the ground, he didn't have a water hose to string out to water it. He depended on God to water it. And it was easy to stand out there and go, Lord, it's getting mighty dry. I need some rain. And when we hit hard times again that's coming, and they are coming, people, because it's biblical. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to be without electricity or if our money's just going to get so much inflation we can't afford to buy nothing, or if they're just going to take our money, or we're going to get a tax. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know hard times is going to come because the Bible talks about it. When that happens and people realize they need God, we can have revival. But you got to remember that sometimes it's not about you. You got to get to a place that you realize you need God. You got to figure out that God is able to work. You got to trust him. And you got to quit worrying about what people say and what people have done and who wronged you, and realize this is a spiritual warfare. And that God's in control. And let him have the battle. And you fight it in prayer. You fight it in fasting. You fight it in doing what you know is right. Keep a right spirit and a right attitude. And forgive them people and move on with your life. It'll be all right. I love y'all. Thank you for listening to me. I want y'all to be in prayer for my friend Jack Jarman's wife. Jerry Jarman, she's had a stroke. She's in the hospital. He watches this channel. I want you to pray for his wife. She needs a miracle from God. Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time. Remember, if you'll do a little better today than you did yesterday, tomorrow will be a better day. We'll see y'all. Y'all have a good one.